What is going on YouTube? Welcome to Off the Draw episode number 1. This is where we talk about anything relating in the sport of hockey, whether it's from a GM hiring, whether it's from a signing, free agency, trade speculations, trades that actually happen, suspensions, you name it. If it's happening in hockey, we're probably going to talk about it here. I'm your host FlopFish, and let's get underway with the first episode. And without further ado, there's no better way to start this off than talking about Ryan Miller himself. As a 33-year-old netminder for the Buffalo Sabres, has shown all intentions of not wanting to stay in Buffalo for next season and not wanting to resign. So therefore, he is going to be a free agent and walk at the end of the year. And the Buffalo Sabres are probably going to try to get the most they can for him at least in a trade, and that's going to prove a little bit difficult. Although Miller is an elite goaltender in the NHL, and he's doing pretty dang good right now in Buffalo considering the roster they have. He's playing lights out, some of the best goaltending I've ever seen in the game of hockey right now. And he's really one of the top 5 goaltenders in the NHL this year as far as it is concerned to stopping that puck. Although they may be losing a lot of games, he's definitely not the reason for them. And that's going to be a bit of a topic because, I mean, he's one of the best goaltenders in the league, so obviously he's going to have some pretty high trade value, right? Well, that's where we have a little bit of an issue, as he is a UFA at the end of the year, which means he can walk, so he could just be a rental player. And there's some scenarios where that happens where, you know what, player doesn't go for much because all the other teams know that they have a chance to sign him at the end of the year, and if they like him enough, they can just sign him right away. Now, that being said, if a team trades for him, they can begin negotiations early and they can get a head start on him as well as use him in the rest of the year and hopefully increase their chances at the playoff runs. Now, the one thing with Ryan Miller is his destination, and he wants to probably go to a team that's going to be contending and a team that's already good. And there's very few teams that are already good that need a goaltender. You can pretty much scratch out the entire Western Conference, as all the teams that are in that conference either have goaltending or they're probably not going to make the playoffs. Sorry, Calgary and Edmonton. It's just the truth. Again, it's one of those things where it's really difficult to tell what's going to happen. And with the Edmonton Oilers acquiring Ben Scrivens, it really does not look like they're going to chase after Miller all too much. Now, that being said, the most likely scenario of him getting traded is probably within the Eastern Conference, and honestly, for a team, I'd probably say it's the Washington Capitals. George McPhee, the GM, after the Erat trade last year, is definitely on the hot seat. He gave up one of the franchise's top prospects in Philip Forsberg for Martin Erat and Michael Latta. Latta's been doing pretty solid for the team from what I've seen and from what I've heard, and from what I've heard from Caps fans as well. But Martin Erat, not so much. He's kind of been struggling a lot, and he doesn't even really play a lot anymore. He's playing on the 4th line for most of the games, and he's just really, really struggling out there. He's demanded a trade who knows how many times. I think we've all lost count this year. So he's in a bit of a pickle there, and he wants out of Washington, and he's made that pretty clear. And why is that key? Well, when you look at comparable goalie trades, realistically for Ryan Miller, the one that comes to mind would be the Luongo trade from Florida to Vancouver. Very similar scenario as in the fact that you have a goalie who's a star goaltender, who's playing at some of the best hockey of their game, playing at a top-notch level, top 5 goaltender in the league at the time, and they want to move from one location to the other to obviously a contending team and increase their chances at winning the Stanley Cup. So you have Ryan Miller here, and you have Roberto Luongo here. Luongo, when he was traded, was definitely younger. Again, Miller is 33, and age will definitely play a role in this. As you look at a player like Corey Schneider, who is, again, really good goaltender, only got a first overall pick. Granted, it was the 9th overall slot, but nonetheless, it's still pretty shocking, a goaltender with the talent of Corey Schneider only getting a first-round pick. Now, Ryan Miller. What's he going to get in return? Again, the most comparable trade to me would be that Luongo trade from Florida to Vancouver, in which the Canucks got Lucas Krajicek and a 6th-round pick in exchange for struggling forward Todd Bertuzzi, who was just coming off the Steve Moore incident and really was not doing anything in Vancouver. Brian Allen, who is a defenseman that wasn't projecting to be anything more than a 3rd pairing defenseman, top 6 defenseman. And then Alex Auld, who was at the time a young goaltender, looked like he could do some solid work back there in the net. However, he didn't really work out too much, and that's kind of what you're looking at in Washington right now. You've got Martin Erat struggling forward, good contract, decent player, when he actually picks his game up. And he wants out. He obviously wants out, and he needs to change his scenery. So maybe Buffalo is that right place for him. Now, and then you have a younger goaltender who's struggling, can't really do much in that regards with Braden Holtby. Would they trade him or would they trade Michael Neuwirth? Now, that's really contingent on Buffalo, in my opinion, as Holtby would probably be a bigger asset going back, but Neuwirth has a higher cap hit. He's already asked for a trade according to a few sources, and again, he just makes a little bit more sense as Washington does need to clear the cap space in order to bring in Ryan Miller. With the contract of Neuwirth and Martin Erat gone, that clears up about $7 million in cap space for that trade, as long as they don't retain any value, of which Buffalo obviously does have space for because they're getting rid of the $6 million in Ryan Miller. Now, that being said, the Washington Capitals will probably also have to throw something extra in there, and who knows what that would be. Would it be a top prospect I've heard Kuznetsov's name come out there, and again, I don't think George McPhail really traded away one of the franchise's top prospects, but who knows? He's in the hot seat. What will he do under all that pressure as a GM? And this is where it's going to get interesting again, because the Capitals need goaltending right now. Holtby's not getting it done, and neither is Neuwirth. Grubauer was not getting it done. They're just really struggling out there to find that solid piece in the net. And for the Washington Capitals, will a solid goaltender really make that difference in making a big cup run? Their defensive core is pretty weak, and that's where a lot of their fans, notably a few on Twitter that are very, very vocal about it, and some of their bloggers, are definitely saying they need to upgrade as opposed to their goaltending status, which, good defense helps out the goaltending, but also good goaltending helps out the defense. It's kind of one of those things that you can flip back and forth. Now, for me, I would say acquiring Ryan Miller in there for the likes of either Neuwirth and Erat. You're getting rid of a forward, and you'd have to obviously throw in something else. It's all contingent on what else you're throwing in there. If you're throwing in a high value prospect for someone who might not even sign next year for you, probably not a good trade for you. That probably will depend. Again, the trade will probably have something depending on if Ryan Miller resigns there. Again, it could be like a first or a second round pick, something like that, where it changes. But for me, in my opinion, Washington by far the best and most likely source for him at this current point in time. Now, will it happen? Who knows? We'll have to wait until the trade deadline. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. Anyways, this has been Off the Draw episode 1. Today we discussed Ryan Miller and where he is going to go. Again, I think the most likely scenario if he gets traded is to be going to Washington, and you'd probably see Erat and one of the goalies, either Holtby or Neuwirth, going the other way to Buffalo. Anyways, guys, as always, take it easy.